Welcome to the Fearlessly Authentic Sash and Soul podcast, the show that goes beyond the stage, prioritizing a healthy mindset, overall well-being, and triumphs in the pageant journey. In each episode, we dive into the transformative power of embracing authenticity fearlessly.
From mindset mastery and self-care strategies to success stories that inspire, this podcast is your go-to guide for navigating the pageant world with confidence and resilience. Join us as we embark on a journey of self-discovery, empowerment, and celebrate the stories of those who fearlessly embraced their authenticity on the path to pageant success. I'm Lila Sherry.
And I'm Rayanna Johnson. Welcome to Sash and Soul. Hey guys.
Hi.
How's it going? Welcome back to Sash and Soul. We're so excited to have you. If you're new here, welcome. If you have been a listener for the past, how many episodes now? Welcome back.
Welcome back. I think we're at our 2-month mark.
Oh my gosh, this is crazy.
Well, this will be closer to 3 months, but right now in this moment, we're at around 2 months. How does that feel?
When it feels amazing. Do you remember when this podcast was just a baby little twinkle in our eyes and now it's just a toddler running around, creating havoc?
I love it.
Yeah, me too. It's really fun. Speaking of really fun, competition is really fun. And it's really stressful and sometimes overwhelming.
It's everything all at once. Anytime anybody asks me, like, how was Miss America? My answer that I can give them in 30 seconds before they walk away is imagine every emotion that you could ever feel at the same time, all the time. Mm-hmm. And that's what competition week is for me, at least a lot of the times. And I think that's relatable to a lot of people too, whether you're a first timer or whether you've been back a million times. It never goes away. The excitement of everything, the adrenaline, the stress, having to worry about a ton of different things all at the same time, that will always be there. And I think that's kind of the beauty of a lot of why we do what we do is we like that challenge. But it comes with challenges.
It does come with challenges. And I think something for you and I to keep in mind is we will never have the experience of being a supporter of someone competing without knowing what it feels like on some level to be the one competing. So today we want to talk about how to best support someone when they're competing, and maybe more importantly, what not to do, because there's a lot of stuff that does more harm than good, even if it's well-intentioned.
And I want to preface this entire thing is that we are talking about supporters, but if you're a competitor right now, don't tune out yet, because if you are looking for a way to help yourself, to let people know around you what is beneficial to you, this was helpful to me. This was helpful to me knowing who I wanted around. And so while I hope all the supporters listen to this episode, I also think it's important that if you are a competitor, you can take a lot of this information to kind of guide people in your life on how they can best support you. That's that responsibility that you have as a title holder and eventually will have as Miss Wisconsin or as Miss America or any state, local, national, in any system, is to have that kind of delegation of tasks. And you have to know best yourself how you're going to go about it, what is going to be best for you. And so for supporters, largely this episode is for supporters, but everyone can benefit from this.
Absolutely. Everyone will benefit. And if you are tired of hearing us say you have to own your own emotions, your own behaviors, you have responsibility to do that for yourself. We're sorry, not sorry, because we're going to keep saying it. Like that is the crux of it. That is how you empower yourself. That is how you grow. That is how you succeed, really, is owning how you want to handle yourself. Success is in how you handle yourself. I absolutely love that mentality. So let's dive in. The first thing that we want to talk about is what you need to understand about competition week as a competitor from the competitor's perspective. So I have a few points here and then we're going to dive in to talking about them. It's stressful. and it can be overstimulating. Like Lila was saying before, Miss America was like every emotion that she could possibly feel all at once, really overwhelming, fun, amazing, but also some grief and some stress and some fear and anxiety and all the things. Next, well, this goes on to that, but contestants are going to feel, they're usually going to feel a whole roller coaster of those emotions. And we'll get into like how to best support that, of course. But anytime someone is feeling a whole mess of emotions, the best thing to do is to not tell them how they should or shouldn't be feeling. Oh, but you should be confident. You should feel good. You've prepared for this. This is supposed to be fun. That's just going to make them feel guilty. Next, contestants don't always have the energy to be on, and they need a safe space to decompress and to just be. So, as excited as you may be to see them and to be around them, understanding that you may be their safe space and they just need to like eat a bowl of fries, like French fries with ranch or something. Like, oh man, that gave away that I'm from the Midwest so hard right now.
Well, no, that's funny because I was tidbit side note on the last night of competition week before finals night. I remember just sitting with you and some of my family and just being like, "Can I have those fries?" Like sitting on the floor in this lobby and just like I was probably feeling all the emotions and just eating the fries. So it's funny that you brought that up because that literally happened the night before I was crowned.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's what I was visualizing. Yep, that was my memory that I was pulling from in my thought organization. If you know, guys. If you're a client of mine, you know what I'm talking about. Okay,
Oh,
so those are some of the main things to understand about competition week if you have never actually experienced it as a contestant. And if you're listening as a supporter and you're a longtime supporter of a contestant who's been through this multiple times, you're probably having some aha moments. And absolutely, I definitely abide by, understanding that about competition week. So that's great. But what do you have to say about all that, Lila?
I guess I don't want it to sound like competition is negative because I'm imagining somebody who knows nothing about pageants and they're like, "Well, why do you why do you do this?" It's it's the mess of, "Oh my gosh, like this could be my last time competing." You're also thinking about, I remember during the week, if this really does happen for me, what does my life look like after? And it is quite literally like being shot out of a cannon and doing the best that you can. And so there is still positives, right? Like I remember my Miss Wisconsin week was one of the best times that I had during competition. I felt just good and I felt good about the people that I was hanging with that week and spending time with that week. And so I don't want this to sound like, you go into the week and it's just all stress all the time because there are so many beautiful moments, but it's because those things are happening at the same time that makes it so exhausting to be pulled in a million different directions. So I think that those are my thoughts on competition week in general. And I want to go into now kind of how people can help.
Yeah, to jump off of that point too, I remember directors prepping me for some of the emotional roller coaster that I would feel, especially my first year competing when I had no idea what to expect. And they had been through it time and time again. Now, as parents or friends or siblings or grandparents or guardians, like going there and supporting your contestant, it may be your first time competing, or maybe your first time supporting someone that's competing. This is just important information to have. But I think um, it's nice when you've got directors like I did that were preparing me for kind of the highs and lows and what to expect of the week. So one of the first things I remember, and I think you'll be able to relate to this, Lila, is the stress, like the energy that changes. It's not necessarily bad, but there's just a more subdued energy the day after the first night of preliminaries.
As it gets real.
Yes. Everyone's really excited. Everyone had hopefully a really great interview or had really a lot of fun with their interview, or they're still processing their interview. And then they're really giddy about the first actual show, the production. It's very fun. They get to see their parents probably, maybe for the first time. It depends. Every state is different. And I don't want this to sound like we're just talking about Miss America. We're talking about Miss USA system. We're talking about Miss Volunteer America, which is coming up in June as well. High School America, National American Miss, like all the different programs. those that have multiple competition nights, it tends to be after that first competition night. Maybe there's preliminary awards that are won, and then the next day it's like there's just a drop in energy. So I think that is something that you can expect of just knowing that there's going to be certain points during the experience of competition that the energy is going to shift and change for whatever reason. And it may be just as a whole within the group, it may be just that individual person. And what I think everyone needs to keep in mind, not just for competition, but just for emotional regulation, emotional well being, emotional intelligence all around, is that whatever you're feeling is okay. To like validate and accept that radical acceptance that you've heard me talk about on the show before. That's really important in those moments when we do have heightened emotions, and understanding that we got to treat it like waves. Waves are going to come and then they're going to go. And we'll have a different wave of emotion at some point and then it's going to go. And so as a supporter, remembering too that, when I talked to Lila and she was having a heightened emotional moment at Miss America, it was a lot of like, okay, this is right now, but you're not going to be feeling like this for the rest of the time. And yeah, I mean, can you share a little bit about that too, Lila? Because in the moment, it can feel really, really big.
It can. And I wanted to jump into that this energy drop is not personal, is not a result of you, or if you had won a prelim award, people don't hate you. That's not what it was. I fell into that. I was convinced that everybody wanted to me because and that was just not the case. Like all of those girls have been nothing but supportive to me my entire year. And so in the moment, how do I explain it? You're sitting there with this dream and it's like a little seedling and it's been growing, and sometimes seedlings don't survive and sometimes they do and sometimes they blossom. And I think you realize sometimes in certain moments that your goals might be changing, your experience might be something different. That's another thing. Don't have expectations, that those always are letdowns. But I think in the moment, you just have to grapple with the idea that you've been sitting with this image or this visual of what you thought it was going to be or what you wanted it to be. And life, that's just life. Sometimes it doesn't turn out that way, and it is what it is. But in the moment, it feels like my dream is dying, or I messed it all up, or all this work means nothing. And we can get really to the extreme of emotions. And it just is what it is. I mean, I have nothing to say but the fact that that does happen and it does feel terrible in the moment, and sit with that, because sitting with it in the moment makes it easier to let it go when you're done after that moment. And so for me, it was helpful for you really, or even Logan, to be like, yeah, this is crazy. It is. And that was it. This is crazy. Okay. All right, cool. That is crazy. Okay. It was like that validation that was helpful to me. And that's really all I have to say about that. It can be hard. Let it out in the moment. Know that this will not last forever, but acknowledge what you're feeling then and there.
What you're feeling, a big emotion does not define whether or not you are ready or capable or deserving or worthy of the outcome that you have been dreaming of. All right. What not to do? Let's get into some actual helpful points here. Now that we have an understanding, I don't think that we can really beat that horse any more than we've already beat it. It's an emotional week. And when we say emotions, like Lila has said, I will reiterate once again, emotions come in all forms. They can be really positive, joyful emotions, and then they can be stressed out, anxiety based emotions, or grief, or whatever, sadness.
Yeah. And you can have both at the same time.
We live in the and in Sash and Soul. That's why there's an and in the middle. That's not why there's an and in the middle, but anyway. Okay. Let's just dive in before I keep saying ridiculous things. The never list. You should have won, or you will win. Please don't ever say that to your contestant or friend or daughter, child. Like, please don't. It's seemingly supportive, showing them that you believe in them and see them as the winner in your eyes. And that's lovely. But from the contestant's perspective, if I didn't win and you're telling me I should have won, maybe I'm not even feeling badly about not winning. Maybe I'm feeling really excited for my friend that just won. And now I'm feeling like, oh, like, are we insulting my friend? Like, that doesn't feel good to me. Or, you know, there's nothing I can do about it. There's a lot of like, it's done now. And you're telling me I should have won,
I was
but I
going
can't do anything about it.
I was going to say my first thought when somebody says you should have won to me, my immediate reaction in my head is like, well, why didn't I? And now I'm thinking about all the things that I didn't do or that I thought I did wrong or that I was overthinking and blah, 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 blah. It's not helpful because it just puts me in the space to think about the scarcity of what I don't have, you know?
Absolutely. And it unravels all of the work that directors and volunteers and coaches and people that have been in the system for so long have said time and time again that the outcome is a crapshoot and that every judge is different, different day, different pageant, different competition, different list of contestants, different judges, different outcome. And so for you to say you should have won, it makes it so black and white when there is no black and white in this type of competitive situation.
Yes, absolutely. And I think really along the same lines, not saying it's yours to lose
Hmm.
puts me in the same headspace. The feelings are the same. I feel like that scarcity, that I need to overcompensate, that it that I could mess something up. I honestly, it is a crapshoot, but when I look back, I think that every local, state, national title in any system gets the title holder that they need in that moment. And a lot of things are meant to be at the end of the day. I've learned a lot of lessons from that. But that's not to say that how you get there isn't a crapshoot, how you get there is black and white. Like a girl will have what she needs, a girl will have what is meant for her in more ways than one. But that applies to every single woman. That's not just the one that gets the crown. And so I hope this makes sense. But what I'm trying to say is that it is not black and white, but also recognizing that what does happen is what needed to happen for you and your life and your journey in that moment, and that should at least be comforting to the competition crapshootness as a whole, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And I want to elaborate on some of that. I guess what we're trying to preach to the supporters that we preach to all the contestants is have some humble confidence. Believe in your contestant, know that they're fully capable, know that they're a wonderful human being and that they would do wonderful things as a title holder, but also know that they're not the only one on that stage that can do all those things. Don't instill this value in them as if they are more deserving than some other person on that stage because they're not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even to say someone is more ready or prepared than someone else is relative. That's just an opinion. I don't know how we can really fact check that. So I really get icky feelings when I hear the word like, I deserve this or you deserve this. Because when I think about someone being deserving, I think of them being worthy, and I don't see any one person as more worthy or less worthy than another. And I think that's really important to consider as well as a supporter. Love on your girl, tell her how much she is amazing and can do amazing things and is just growing and getting so much stronger and you're so excited for her. But please don't tell her she deserves to win or that it's hers to lose or that she's going to win, because that is very unhelpful in the way they think about themselves and the way they think about other people.
I think a common theme with a lot of this list that we have of the don'ts is that it makes the supporter feel good in the moment. It comforts the supporter. It comforts the person that is watching because I get it. I get sitting in an audience and feeling like you have no control over anything and just anxiety, your palms are sweating. I know. And I can't imagine what it's like when it's your own daughter, right? So I want to give grace to the supporters because when you hear your family members saying this as a title holder, know that it's because they feel so much for you and that they want the best for you. And they are probably feeling some anxiety of their own and feeling out of control. And so this comes from that place. But now I'm talking to the supporters, know that this is coming from you and that these anxieties are to help you. Um, and I think a lot of the you shouldn't have won, it's yours to lose, you're most prepared for this job is a slippery slope into talking bad about other contestants.
Don't project your insecurities, your fears, and your anxieties on your contestant. And I do know now being on this side as a coach or even as a friend watching someone compete and like I have this very it's like almost like a PTSD of like going back to exactly how I was feeling on that stage multiple times and being so nervous for them. So yeah, there's that and that's going to happen. As a supporter, you cannot avoid that at all. So anticipate that, but don't try and overcompensate or overcome that by projecting this idea that your contestant is the best contestant and they're going to win. And
Exactly.
it's not helpful for anyone. Okay, so next, you had kind of mentioned it's just a backwards way or a backdoor way of putting down other contestants, and that's next on the list. On the never list, trash talking other contestants. You've heard us talk about how when a contestant is trash talking or playing mind games, it's stemming from their own insecurities. It's no different when you're a supporter and you're trash talking other contestants.
It seems so simple. Like that's it. It doesn't make anybody feel good, any kind of trash talking that happens. I think it's a red flag if your mentor or your supporter or your family, their way of building you up is by talking bad about other people. I've been in that space. My own family's fallen into that. I get it. We're all human. I've done it before, let's be honest. But it never makes you feel good at the end of the day. It only causes more ick. It only causes more insecurities because now you're looking at comparison and now you're sitting there like, well, are they? It's just not worth it. I don't know how else to say it, but it is not worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. The next point is it's just more ick. Heads up. Complaining about the pageant organization, the show, volunteers, etc. And this falls in line with let's not focus on the things outside of our control. If we're telling your contestants not to do it, please don't do it yourself.
Yeah,
It is what it is.
it is. And also, I mean, think about it. The girls that are competing are working and looking to be ambassadors for whatever title organization they are in. So you're only making their life more difficult when you're focusing on the negative aspects of what they're going to, I guess, be advocating for, or at least being the face of, right? In any organization, you're going to be the face of that. And so to continually poke at the negative parts of what it is. It's like hearing a bunch of negative things about a company that you really want to work for. It's just it doesn't help when you're competing and you're supposed to be really passionate and excited about this opportunity. So it just goes hand in hand with everything else. Yeah, more ick. Just a bunch of ick before we get into good stuff. But I promise it's helpful.
Chances are your contestant already knows about some of the dysfunction or disorganization of the organization that they want to represent, but that's not stopping them from wanting that title and from wanting to succeed and do all these really incredible things with it. So let's focus on that. Let's focus on what they can control in themselves and supporting them in that, not spewing negative energy and commentary on an organization that, like I said, they may already be aware of some of those dysfunctions. It comes with the territory of most every business, but especially of organizations that are primarily run by volunteers. Moving on. Oh, this one's a big one. Please don't ever ask your contestants' opinion on what they think the outcome will be.
I got asked that a lot, actually. leading up to a lot of competitions throughout my life. It was always, well, what do you think? Because if they don't know, they don't understand who's, what's happening or what you're competing in, or it's like, well, what do you think is going to happen? Because again, it helps them, it helps ease their anxiety. But I always just, I'm already an overthinker. And when you ask me to think about things, it's going to go overboard.
Well, when somebody asks you, what do you think the outcome is going to be? It puts you in a tough spot. You either say, well, I'm going to win because I want to win, or like you're trying to have this mindset of like, I'm focused on the big picture. I want to do the job. Like, I'm not trying to think of any other outcome right now, not because I'm conceited, but because this is what I want. And I'm so focused on my preparation for it. It either does that or it it places a seed of doubt in your brain that if they're asking you what you think the outcome is, maybe they don't think it's going to be you either.
Yes. Great way to put it into words.
That's painful. That can be really painful. And it really just leans into, like you said, like, I'm going to overthink and then I'm going to be playing head games with myself by overthinking all of this. And that's just, it's not helpful. It's distracting. It's distracting from, again, the big picture, staying
Exactly.
focused. So, oh, good point to say. Another thing that I tell your contestants is stay focused on the big picture, stay focused on your why, stay focused on your mission. You have a vision, stay focused on that so that you don't fall into the traps of the nitty gritty of little things that you can't control within the pageant. As a supporter, please heed my words and do the exact same thing. Thank you. Next, discussing the performances of other contestants or discussing other contestants in general. Why is this a no-go, Lila?
Comparison. Comparison, overthinking, everything that we've been talking about, slippery slope into talking bad about other contestants. Just energy on things that don't matter. It's crazy because I just had a conversation with a local title holder and she had asked, uh, how do I know that my resume is good enough? Like, how do I know that I'm not going to be competing against a lawyer or a doctor and that they're not going to be more prepared than me? And you know what I said? I was like, I competed against lawyers and doctors. And so why did I win? And so then I'm just sitting there like, well, shoot, was I the most qualified? What, right? And so it's like, I understand that feeling of like, she's doing this in a way that I'm not doing it, and da, 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 and we just get in this space. But it's also like people are looking at you that way. The same people that you're looking at that you feel like are have it all together and are doing great things are also looking at you, and the grass is greener. And we have this idea that the grass is greener. And so this just falls into that, right? Of course, there's going to be other piano players. Of course, there's going to be other people that work in journalism. Welcome to the world. Like I'm not the exception. What can I control? What do I offer that is important to me and my life and what I want to do? It comes back to being a little bit more selfish and focused on yourself, but all of these things, yeah, jump in after this, but all of these things that are on this never list just continually fall into that comparison and energy that is going somewhere that it just isn't beneficial.
Well, it's hilarious because I'm sitting here like we are both just chomping at the bit to say things that we are clearly very passionate about this topic today, which is really fun. I was gonna say, is it selfish or is it again you taking ownership and staying in your own lane, which is just always so much more powerful. And the thing that was running through my head was a conversation I had with a client earlier this week about comparison. And I had heard it from a mindset coach that I was working with a while back, and I loved it. It's this analogy of the tomato plant. So let's say that you have a tomato plant in your backyard and your neighbor also has a tomato plant, but your tomato plant is like dying slash barely hanging on. And the tomato plant next door is thriving. It is just beautiful, luscious greenery and beautiful ripe red tomatoes. And you're looking at it like, oh, I'm just the worst tomato gardener ever. I just suck at this. I'm horrible. I just like I can't do anything. I can't do anything right. Like how I mean, I just I can't even make tomatoes for a salad. What am I going to do? Okay, right. You're laughing at me because, yeah, that was so dramatic, being dramatic on purpose. So we could do that. Look at this other person's tomato plant, who, by the way, They're just over there in their own little yard taking care of their tomato plants. They're not like, I'm gonna one up her. She's got terrible tomato plants over there. I'm just gonna show her. No, they don't care. They just care about gardening beautiful tomatoes, right? Like they're doing their thing because they're excited. They love gardening tomatoes, probably. They're passionate about it. That's the lane they chose. Look, maybe you don't love gardening tomatoes. Don't do it. And if you do, the only way that this comparison is going to be helpful for you is if you look at their tomato plant and think, what can I do better? If I really want to be a tomato gardener, I need to learn what kind of fertilizer are they using? How much or how little are they watering? How much sunshine is that plant getting? What can I do differently? The point is, if you're competing against a doctor and you are not a doctor, maybe you're even taking a break from school. So you're not actively pursuing education right now because of money or mental health or whatever reason. Like that person chose to go for their doctorate or doctoral degree in whatever they're doing, whether that's medical or education or whatever. There's too many doctoral degrees out there. I just don't even know. I'm obviously not a doctor. Anyway, I digress.
Sitting here.
They, what'd you say?
I just think it's funny that we're both sitting here like, yeah, we're not doctors or
We're not
lawyers.
doctors. No, no. They chose to do that. You didn't. It's okay. I chose to launch a business. Maybe you didn't. That's okay. Don't compare yourself to me. Like, if you want to be a coach, you want to start your own business, great. Maybe learn from me. Like, look at what I'm doing and decide what you like and what you don't like, but don't use it as a tool to bring yourself down. That's when comparison is not bad. But in essence, comparison is something we have been naturally doing for our survival since infancy. It's not going to go away. We don't have to be afraid of it. We just have to be careful about it. And that goes for you as a supporter too.
Feel like we could have a whole episode just on comparison.
Oh, we probably will. That's a good idea. Okay, let's go to the next point.
Yep.
Oh, these two go hand in hand. So I'm going to say them both at the same time, back to back, not in tandem, because I don't know how to do that. Giving advice when it wasn't asked for, or telling your contestants things they should or could have done differently.
I think when you're not in a space to talk about technical advice, I don't even want to say strategy because it's hard to have strategy in a not black and white competition. But anyways, when I say strategy, you guys know that I mean like coaching or what you're doing on stage, right? So when people are talking about advice or things that you could have done differently, you're living in the past, you're living in a space that you cannot control. And to me, the times that I feel the craziest, the most out of truth with myself is when I am trying to control things that I cannot control. It only drives me into farther into insanity, okay? And what's worse is trying to control something that I cannot control that has already happened. We are going to drive ourselves nuts. And I think moms do this a lot. I've heard a lot of moms do this. My own mother does this. Sorry, mom, I'm going to call you out. But she will really try and be reflective of things. And that's the word that I want to use. Be reflective of things. But again, it's a slippery slope and it falls into this space of like, I wish I did that. I wish I did this. I wish da 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 da. All these things that we cannot control that are already in the past. It does nothing for us. It does nothing for how we feel. It does nothing for preparing for the next competition. The times that I felt the best was when I would walk off stage and maybe it wasn't the outcome that I wanted, or maybe it was. It was always that person that was like, what's next? What are we going to do next? What are the next steps? Like, what do you want to do tomorrow? Like, where do you want to start? That was always when I felt the best, whether I had the outcome that I wanted or not.
And that is something that I say to my contestants all the time, to my clients, uh, onward and upward.
Yeah.
Come out of an interview. How do you feel? Was it fun? How do you like overall? I like thoughts on it. Let's process it real quick. Okay, great. Onward and upward. That's done. We're done. We're moving forward. What's next? Like you said. So, as a supporter, go ahead and use those exact words because they are helpful. I love you. I'm proud of you. I'm excited for you. Okay, that happened. Whatever. We're moving forward, onward and upward. Let's move towards what we can control.
Because I think it's important to recognize that women, especially, but also women, especially in a pageant, are already going to be self-reflective, self-aware, hard on themselves, critical about what they're doing. We see a lot of perfectionism in type A women like this. They're already doing that to themselves, whether you know it or not, and whether they show it or not. And some people might be really good about it. They might just move on. There were a lot of times where I wasn't doing that. But in general, that happens. And honestly, we don't need anybody else to do it for us. And I'll end that there. But knowing that all of these things that you're doing as a supporter, they're already doing to themselves, and giving them grace when it comes to we don't need to talk about how you answered a question after it was done. Like, we're done, you know?
Absolutely. You have done this to me, and I was so proud of you. You were at Miss America. You set a boundary with me when you didn't want advice or need feedback from me about something. And it was so very clear to me. It wasn't a direct, like, no, Rihanna, I don't want to talk about this. I don't remember exactly how you did it, but I was like, oh, and I was so proud of you in that moment. You may not remember exactly what this was, but I do remember talking with you afterwards, and you were like, oh, you caught that? I was like, yes, I caught that. So what I want to say to supporters is please don't take it personally when your contestant sets a boundary. Caveat to that, contestants, you have to own your own feelings. Don't take it out on your supporters. Respect them and love them and understand that they're not perfect and they're also stressed for you. Okay. So this is a two-way street. We're not sitting here telling the supporters that they need to be perfect and that contestants can do whatever they want to because it's a super emotional situation. No, 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 no. Contestants, you got to own your stuff and you got to be respectful. You got to figure that out and go to the right person when you need help. And supporters, being respectful when they say, like, I really don't need advice right now. I really can't talk about my performance at this point. It's done. It's too late. Like, practice is over. I'm here doing the thing.
Trying to think what that even was, but I appreciate you. Thank you.
I don't remember what it was either. But I remember specifically because we had a conversation about it later too. But I was really proud of you. Okay. All right. Last two things. And then we need to move into what's helpful because that's where the money is, so to speak. Do not hover or try to be too helpful. It can just be overwhelming. Like, you care, you want to be as supportive as possible. You're also nervous, so you're trying to do what you can. So many things are outside of your control. So you're trying to take care of things that may be within your control. But if you're hovering, if you're doing too much, if you're nagging on what they need too much, it's going to be overwhelming. Again, we talked about, like, contestants don't have a whole lot of energy. They need to decompress and just be. So don't hover and don't try and do too much. And then finally, the last thing is try not to assume you know how they're feeling. We
Ooh,
heard Madison Marsh talked about this. She told her family, like, no, she told her fiance to tell the family if she doesn't make top 10, like, she just wants to celebrate after this. Nobody's going to be sad. She's not going to be sad. We're going to celebrate. And that was great for her. Like, she preemptively set the standard for that. But I think that just goes for those that maybe aren't telling you outright, this is what I want. Don't assume that that is or isn't what they want or is or isn't how they're feeling. My dad, I remember when I was first runner up in 2011, was like, I love him so much. Dad, if you're listening, shout out. I'm just being me, like you say. Um, he he was like not saying anything to me because I think he was just trying to be very gentle, but like I could just tell he was kind of like huffy and like disappointed like on my behalf. And I had to say to him, we were standing in line waiting to be announced at the reception. And I had to say to him, Dad, I am so good right now. Like, I am happy. I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I've said it on the show before. Like, I had a moment of complete clarity of understanding I was right where I was supposed to be as first runner up. And like, then he eased up. But it was definitely one of those moments where he was maybe assuming that I was feeling so disappointed. Like, I was this close and just missed the mark somehow, but I wasn't. I do remember walking, like treading water, walking on eggshells just a little bit with you because I didn't know how you felt after you didn't make finals at Miss America. And I think the best thing that I could do was, how are you feeling? Just asking, giving you that space to tell me. And you were like, I'm good. I'm actually good right now. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna get emotional about it later, I'm sure, but right now I'm good.
Yeah, I think that supporters want to feel for their competitor. They want to like take pain away if it's painful. And that's just not going to happen. It's impossible. So let's not try and do that. It's funny. I keep thinking about, again, Maddie, Miss America, saying she was like, "Don't treat me like a wounded animal." And I was cackling when she said that because it truly, though, me competing in a competition and being one of 30, 50 plus women that could possibly are all just as worthy to be able to get this title, me walking away from it, not getting the title, like nothing in my life changes. That's another thing. I'm going to make this point and then we can move on. But nothing in my life changes before or after. All of my supporters stay the same. The people that I love stay the same. My closet stayed the same. My all my problems were the same. All the same food places that I like to eat. Like my life doesn't change depending on the placement that I get at this competition. I walked in the way that I walked out. Like this was supposed to be fun. This was supposed to be a learning experience. And so treat it as such. It's not about the competition. And you've heard me say it a million times over and over on this show. It's not about the competition. It's not about the placement. And I sit here as somebody that got the thing, and I'm still like, it ain't about it. It's still not about it. And so, never assuming that them, being at peace or being calm is them not caring, or that them feeling really heightened about something is that they feel like they lost something, right? Like it's hard to put into words, but yes, never assume because frankly, A, they will get over it. We will all get over it. And B, it's not the supporter's emotion to own. Don't own it for me. Let me feel it and just hold that space.
Oh, and don't judge it either. And when I say don't judge it, I remember processing and having a lot of deep feelings and the grief that came after being done competing at Miss America and trying to talk with people about that. I ended up just not anymore because I kept getting met with, but you competed at Miss America. Like you shouldn't be feeling this way. In essence, was what the response that I was getting, and then I felt even worse because now I'm feeling all these feels and the grief of like that's it. Like I worked so hard for that, and now it's done, and all the complicated feelings that come with that being met with a judgment of I shouldn't be feeling that way because I competed for Miss America. I should just be so grateful and excited and elated that I had the opportunity.
Right.
So I think the other thing too, when it comes to how big feelings can be, is understanding as a supporter, like Lila was saying, your contestant is capable. They are very capable. They are strong. And there's a reason that we put ourselves through an emotional roller coaster of competition. It's because we're not interested in being average. And what comes with that, the emotional ups and downs and the disappointment, it's part of the process and the journey of growth. It's just part of it. So you kind of have to let them do that. When a toddler is learning to walk, they're going to fall a couple of times. And that's just part of the process. When you're potty training, like my sister is right now, there's going to be accidents. It's
Yeah.
just part of the process. And eventually you figure it out. Okay. All right. Enough of that. What's helpful?
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
God,
you're
just
probably like, if you're a supporter, you're sitting there like, okay, got it. What am I supposed to do? You're telling me
I
all these
know.
things I'm not supposed to do.
You guys, we're trying to condense our episodes so that they're not too lengthy for you. So, like, I don't know. I guess let us know what you're thinking. But yes, let's get into what is helpful. Love and support. Go for it.
I'm going to spell it all out right
Yep.
away. We're going
Yep.
to get to it one point at a time. Quote, I'm proud of you. Quote, it's so much fun to cheer you on. Quote, you're so inspirational. Ask open-ended questions like, what's been your favorite part so far? How are the other girls? How are you feeling? Ask if they need anything. And if they say no or they're not sure, encourage them to ask for what they need. Send cards and notes of well wishes. Give them powerful and inspiring quotes. And I think above all, validate their feelings. That's
Validated.
my list. Mm-hmm.
Yep. You look at this and it's like, well, it's actually just not doing much. Isn't that kind of crazy? Like,
Mm-hmm.
we think that we need to do all these things. Like, we want to be the one to zip up their dress and do their hair and like freaking hold their hand, right? It's actually the complete opposite. Like the best thing that somebody could ever do for me is A, give me space. That's me as a person. Obviously, that's different for everybody. But A, give me space to actually experience the experience for myself. Because one thing that always made me sad was looking around in the dressing room and realizing that like nobody was talking to each other. And obviously, this was not a specific experience, but there are some moments where you look around and you're like, everybody's talking to their supporters on their phones with their heads down or on the phone. And you're like, wait, but we could all just be hanging out right now. Like giving me space to experience the experience for myself, because I promise that most women will walk out of there being like, wow, there were some really incredible moments and I've been changed for the better and I've met people for the better. And I would never take away this experience, knowing the outcome or not. So give them space to experience those good things. It's backing off. It's doing less, actually. It's easier for the supporter to be helpful, right? Like that should be a comforting thing. And now I'm looking at this list like, it's pretty easy to be a good supporter. You do less than what you think you need to do.
Yeah, the difficult part is in managing your own emotions, your own like stress and anxiety and desire to just like be there and help this person that you love so much. That's the difficult part is managing and is owning your own stuff. Oh man, the theme. It's just we can't not say it in almost every episode. Like everyone just owns their own stuff. But I think too, like just the simple things go so far. And maybe you can lean into your love language too. Like, what is your love language? What is your contestant's love language? Like, what means the most to them? Like, I have a teddy bear on my desk right in front of me. I'm looking at it right now. Its name is Faith. My mom sent it to me backstage the final night of competition in 2014, the night that I won. And it was really significant to me because it had to do with my onstage question earlier that week. And she sent me this beautiful note about it. My sister sent me a note backstage that ended with the anonymous quote, be fearlessly authentic. And that is where fearlessly authentic comes from. And those two things, faith and being fearlessly authentic, guided my year. But not only that, in that moment, I was reminded that I had people out in that audience, people that truly believed in me, that loved me no matter what happened, no matter what the outcome was. And so those notes, the teddy bear, little gifts, little flowers, like that really does go a long way. And I think every girl deserves to experience that when they're competing, is just that outpouring of love because they've worked so hard. Um, so those things were always really special to me. And the directors that I would sit with after preliminary nights in their hotel rooms, and we would just chat about nothingness and we would laugh and they would bring me food. And it was just those little things where they were just, like you said, creating space for me to experience the joy of it and to also have space to have my cry of the week that is typically inevitable, right? Like just and the thing that I loved so much, and this is something I value as a coach now, and I really practice and lean into this so hard, is that those that I felt most supported by anytime I was competing were the ones that they did not make it about themselves at all. And it's not like they were spoiling me necessarily, but they were very careful to have open, like create that space for me and know that they had other people that they could go to for whatever they were going through. Like if they were having stresses because of the tickets or like their outfit, got spilled on or something, like that wasn't something they were going to bring to me.
Right.
That was something they brought to somebody else. They created this like haven, so to speak. And that's something that I want to do for my clients. We do all the prep beforehand. We do all the practice, all the interview stuff, the communication skills, the paperwork, the mindset stuff in preparation. We get all those skills in hand as much as we can. And then when it counts is when I really have to just create that space and make it all about you as the contestant, knowing how much of an emotional roller coaster it is and how much I valued those people in my network and my circle, that they were just purely there for me and had just the most beautiful intentions. And y'all, if you're listening, you know who you are. And I love you so much. I cannot even tell you how amazing that was for me, especially someone who comes from a family of 7 kids. Like, to have people that truly were just there for you, like it really meant the world. And so I aspire to pay that forward.
I was going to say, before you even said any of this, I was like, I gotta thank my people. And I do. And public thank yous don't actually mean a lot to me. And so that's why I make it a point to, I give my private thank yous and you know who you are. But to the people that loved on me this year and previous years, like you said, you know who you are. And I'm so grateful. And I'm going to start tearing up now because I would not be where I am today without the people that decided to pour into me, regardless of what they had going on. So, doesn't it feel good as a supporter to pour love rather than to focus on the anxieties or the outcome of the competition? We would all have a lot more fun in the audience, on stage, backstage, volunteers. We would all have more fun if we actually just made it all about the love and the support. And I know that we all try to do that, but these are tangible ways to focus on that and to shift the attention. And I think that's really just what we're getting at. It's just more fun for all of the people involved to say things like, I'm proud of you. It's so fun to cheer you on. Oh my God, if somebody said, it's so fun to cheer you on, I'd be like, thank
Mhm.
you, right? Like that's so loving. And really, that's what it's about. That's why we do what we do on this show. That's why you are adamant about the work that you do as a coach. That's why, I mean, that's why people volunteers for the love of the contestants. That's what it's about.
Yes. Yes. So as we wrap up, I'm talking to you, contestants. This is a direct message to you. Heed my words, or I will come after you. Just kidding. Um, but truly, be gracious. Understand that yes, you have people that are supporting you and people in your corner, but that doesn't make you the best of the best or the most deserving. Be gracious of their support. Do not abuse that support. If you have supporters that are bending over backwards for you, be gracious, be grateful, be loving, be kind, and also please do not expect others to do for you what you can do for yourself.
Hmm.
That's incredibly important. Do not abuse the support that you are receiving, whether that is from volunteers who have their own families, their own careers, and their own lives and stuff going on outside of you, by the way, even if they don't share that with you. They're volunteers, if it's a coach, if it's friends, if it's family members, don't show up in that interview room and on stage acting as if you are just this precious, nice person and then treat your supporters like crap. Don't do it.
Comes back to when we said everybody is just as worthy as everybody on that stage. Just as supporters are not going to have that sentiment, neither should you as a title holder.
Right? Oh, and there you have it.
Hopefully that was helpful. We always have tidbits and stories that we branch off of, and I like to think that those are the most beneficial parts of the conversations that we have because experiences teach and words don't. So I like inserting our stories, but hopefully you guys were able to get a lot of tangible tips and examples that are going to help you during competition week. We're right here. Here we are.
Here we are. And also, if you have questions, you want some clarification on any of these points or additional advice, or you just have comments on this episode because you know what it's like to be a supporter, or you know what it's like to receive amazing support, and you have some additions to our list, please reach out to us. We would love to hear from you. We always
Yeah.
want to know how you are interpreting our episodes, and also any topics that you would like us to talk about,
Yes.
because
Yes.
we can come up with ideas, but it's always fun to know like what it is that you want to hear about. So drop us a note.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. All right, Lila. Let's talk again next week, shall we?
Sounds good. See you then.
All right. We'll see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, you guys, if you love what you're hearing on Sash and Soul and you're preparing for a pageant competition, you have to check out our free online training, 3 Keys to Winning the Crown. In this game-changing workshop, you'll discover the secrets to owning the interview and the stage with a winning mindset and humble confidence. This transformative session will empower you to cultivate a fearlessly authentic mindset and learn how to embrace your unique strengths, conquer limiting beliefs, and radiate confidence on and off the stage. You'll master the art of communication and discover powerful strategies to captivate judges and audiences with your unique voice and message. Click the link in the episode summary or visit fearlesslyauthenticcoach.com to claim your spot in this complimentary training. Your journey to greatness starts